Okay, now number 10 on my list is a movie it's a comedy. Well, a comedy kind of drama, romance thing. It's called While You Were Sleeping, starring Sandra Bullock and Bill Pullman and Peter Gallagher and Jack Warden. I believe Peter Boyle is in this. It's just a great movie. It's basically the story about Sandra Bullock's character. She's played Lucy. Lucy, that's her character name. She's a token blue clerk in Chicago. I think it's Chicago. Yeah, Chicago. Who's lonely. Basically, she has no family, and she actually falls in. She actually is lonely, and she kind of falls in love with the. Well, she gets a crush, I guess, or so maybe a secret crush on Peter Gallagher. He's like a commuter that she sees on the train every day that goes to work. You know, she gives him a token, and she sees him. You know, he's like a businessman. You know, with the hat, with the suit, and everything else. And she's constantly, of course, she's in love with him, of course, from afar. And then one day he gets mugged and gets knocked unconscious and falls on a railroad track. And when she leaves the booth and actually pulls him up to safety so he doesn't get run over by the train. And of course she goes with him and he gets taken to the hospital. And then when he's at the hospital, of course his family comes to see, and she gets mistaken for his fiancée. The nurse assumes that she's his fiancée, so the family thinks, of course, she's Peter Gallagher's fiancée. And of course, and she kind of goes along with it because this big whole family, Peter Gallagher's family, just kind of sweeps her up into the family, and she likes, like I said, because she has nobody else in her family, so she kind of goes along with the plan. And then she meets Bill Pullman, who plays Peter Gallagher's brother, Jack, and they start to, you can see that they start to actually interact with each other, and they slowly but surely, of course, because this is a romantic comedy. Of course, they have all these great scenes where they meet cute and stuff and interact with each other. And of course, you can tell that she starts to fall in love with Jack, of course. And then, of course, what complicates matters is, of course, Peter Gallagher comes out of his coma. And I won't tell you any more of what happens, but it's just one of the great romantic comedies of all time. And Sandra Bullock is absolutely precious in this movie. And her and Bill Pullman have great chemistry in this movie. And it's definitely worth seeing. Okay, I love it. I have it on DVD, and I have it on. I have the VHS first, and I have the DVD. And I don't know if it's on. I don't think it's on Blu-ray yet. Anyway, the next movie on my list, number 9, is Untamed Heart. This movie stars Kristen Slater and Marissa Tomei, and I believe it takes place in, is it Chicago? Maybe Chicago. It doesn't matter. Some small town. Anyway, Marissa Tomei, she plays a waitress at this diner. She works with, of course, with Rosie Perez, and Kristen Slater is like the dishwasher who works there, and Marissa Tomei. She's kind of unlucky in love. I think she recently broke up with her boyfriend in the beginning of the movie, and it's basically she lives with her family and stuff, with her brother and her family in the house, and she basically, like I said, she's basically looking for love. Always. I think they even say she has a reputation for dating losers and stuff. But in the course, one night when she's going home, she's walking one night. And usually, I think in the beginning when they established it, her brother usually comes to pick her up. But one night, I guess he doesn't come for some reason, and then she decides to walk home. And of course, these two guys from the diner, they actually follow her, and then they actually try to assault her. They actually assault her, and then of course, Kristen Slater's character comes, and basically, she gets knocked out, and he knocks out the two guys that try to attack her, and he carries her home and leaves her on the porch. And of course, she wakes up and she sees him there, and then she doesn't understand at first what's going on, and then later she finds out that he was the one that actually saved her, and then she finds out later that of course he would follow her home when she would walk home, just to make sure she got home all right. And this is, like I said, this is like a romantic. It's a romantic drama because Kristen Slater's character, he's like a shy guy who doesn't talk that much, and they show in the beginning of the movie his character grew up in an orphanage, and he grew up with a weak heart, and the nuns told him the story that he had that God came down and switched his heart with a monkey heart. They told him this. I don't know why they told him the story. I think they tried to tell him the story to make him feel better about because I think he couldn't physically play with the other kids because he had a weak heart. but they told him that he was special, that he had the monkey's heart, and that's what made him special. And but anyway, they start hanging out with each other, and she starts doing stuff for him, and he starts sharing, and basically you see them fall in love, and it's a really great movie, Untamed Heart. I saw it. I think I saw it on cable one time, and actually fell in love with it. I bought the VHS, and because I don't know if it's on DVD and that, but I bought the VHS of it. But Untamed Heart, starring Kristen Slater and Marissa Tomei. Just a really great, sweet, romantic not comedy. It's a romantic drama, and it's really, really good. They have great chemistry, Kristen Slater and Marissa Tomei, and you absolutely will fall in love with this movie. Definitely highly recommend it. And now my next movie on my list, number 8, is 300. This is a Zack Snyder movie, of course, based on the Frank Miller graphic novel, starring Gerard Butler and Lena Headey. It's a great movie about the 300 Spartans that basically had to fight the whole Persian army from taking over. And the visually this movie, and also a young Michael Fassbender's in this movie. Visually, this movie is absolutely beautiful. And Zack Snyder is one of my favorite directors, and this movie is like a comic book. This is based on a graphic novel, and the visuals of this movie are epic. And the battle scenes, out of this world. This movie will get your heart pumping and racing. If you were dead before that, this movie will bring you back to life. That's how fantastic this movie is. I absolutely love 300. I have different versions of it. I have the Steelbook, I have the regular version, and I too got to get that Spartan helmet. I got to get that one day. I've been kind of slacking on that, but I want that Spartan helmet. And of course, it has one of the great lines of all time. You know, this spotter, the kick, and just this movie is just epic. This is what a Hollywood blockbuster should be. Okay, I absolutely love 300. I heard they're making not a sequel, but it's supposed to be like another battle that's supposed to be going on at the same time the battle than this movie is supposed to be going on. That's what I heard, but I haven't heard much of it lately, so who knows if that's going to get made. But I love 300. 300 is just beautiful. Now, number 7 on my list is a movie called Silence of the Lambs. Okay, and I read this book actually by William Harris. I think it's by, not Richard Harris. I think it's William Harris. Silence of the Lambs. This is based on about a story about it's about Buffalo Bill, a serial killer that's going around killing women and taking their body parts because I think he wants to create the perfect girl. And of course, the FBI is on his trail. And they take a young trainee played by Jodie Foster, Clarice Starling, and they get her to talk to, of course, Hannibal the Cannibal, played by the great Anthony Hopkins. And their interactions in this movie, Jodie Foster and Anthony Hopkins, are absolutely fantastic. And this movie is, I think, directed by Jonathan Demme. It's just absolutely fantastic. The dialogue, everything about it. Anthony Hopkins is I don't say a revelation, because Anthony Hopkins has always been a great actor, but he's absolutely perfect as in Hannibal the Cannibal. And there's a scene in this movie in a cage that takes place with 2 guards that I'm not going to say anything more about it, but it's an epic scene. And this movie, I love the whole feel and tone of this movie, Silence of the Lambs. It's just one of the perfect movies, and Anthony Hopkins deservedly won an Academy Award, and also Jodie Foster too, because she was absolutely fantastic as Clarice Starling. And I actually read the book before I saw the movie for once, and this is just pitch perfect movie. I love Silence of the Lambs. Just one of the great thrillers of all time. Okay, now number 6 on my list is an animated movie. There's a lot of great animated movies by Pixar, Disney, and everything else, but this movie is just my favorite, and I'm hoping one day they make a sequel to it. It's called The Incredibles. Okay, about a family about a group of a family of superheroes. They're actually retired heroes, and it's basically their story and basically how they. I said this before when I was also talking about it before. This movie is just great for, like I said, they show that in the beginning of the movie a little bit of the superheroes, how they used to be, and now how they got retired by the government, and how now they're living in the suburbs and stuff. And then of course, one of the head superhero played by the Mr. Incredible, gets lured out of retirement and gets captured, and of course the family has to to save him, and it's just a fantastic movie. I said this before. This is how the Fantastic Four movie, and I think they're rebooting it now. This is how the Fantastic Four movie should have been. It's full of action, great comedy, and a lot of heart. It's just a great movie. The voice acting is great, and by Holly Hunter. I think Craig T. Nelson plays Mr. Incredible. Of course, Samuel L. Jackson is the best friend. It's just great. Where's my super suit? Anyway, just a fantastic movie, The Incredibles. I absolutely love it. It's one of the most beautiful looking movies of all time, and the story is great. The action's great. Great family, great heart in this movie, and I absolutely love The Incredibles. My favorite animated movie of all time. Okay, now, the fifth movie is, I'm going to go with the original Star Wars trilogy. Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Just three epic movies. George Lucas, of course, based this. They're supposed to be on the old serials they used to watch growing up. It's basically about a young farm boy. He wanted to escape, leave home, and seek adventure in space. And he meets old Ben, who turns out to be Ben Kenobi. And of course, you have Han Solo, Princess Leia, and these three movies, Episode 4, 5, and 6, are just epic. Just especially 5, Empire Strikes Back. What more can be said about the Star Wars movies? Just it gave you a villain for the ages with Darth Vader, played by the great James Earl Jones with his great vicious voice. You have C-3PO, R2-D2, Lando Calrissian, Boba Fett, Jabba the Hutt. You just have all these great characters, and the Emperor. It's just, like I said, it's like a space. They said, I think long ago somebody said it was like a Western in space, and basically it is. And you can see, I love the progression from the first movie with Luke Skywalker all the way to the end in Return of the Jedi. It's just a fantastic set of movies. I love those three movies. That trilogy, it's just epic. Okay, notwithstanding George Lucas trying to butcher them, they're great. Okay, now the fourth movie is a movie called Watchman. Okay, this is based on the graphic novel by Alan Moore, based on a group of superheroes. And of course, this was just directed again by the great Zack Snyder. I absolutely love this movie. This movie didn't do too great at the box office because I think it was too long for most people, but I absolutely love this movie. The story was great. The visually, this movie is absolutely fantastic. And you had great performances from the actors. Special mention to Jackie Earle Haley, who played Rorschach. He was absolutely fantastic. He made the movie for me. He was just vicious, and you have to see this movie. See this movie. It's one of the most underrated movies of all time. I absolutely love this movie. Like I said, it's about this group of superheroes and what happens when one of them gets murdered. And but it's more complicated than that. And you have to see it to believe it. And you have to just physically watch this movie. And this is one of the best superhero movies that was ever made. Okay, and I can't say more things about it. I have the DVD 5 box set. And I have the regular. I have a steel book. I have the regular version of with the lenticular cover. And there's another steel book of it that came out recently from Play.com that I want to get. And I absolutely love Watchmen. You have to see it. You just have to see it to believe it. It's one of the most fantastic movies of all time. Okay, and now this next movie, my number 3 movie of all time for me, is a trilogy of movies called, of course, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Okay, of course, in this movie, you have this is about, of course, the Lord of the Rings movies was about them trying to about an innocent group of hobbits, getting together with 8 companions, and they have to go to the Mount Doom to destroy that one ring and defeat the Dark Lord, Sauron. And you have first of all, this is based on the J.R.R. Tolkien novels, which I never read. So, going into this movies, I didn't have a clue what it was about. I just loved the trailer, so of course I went to see these. And these movies are each, I think, like 3 hours or more each, and they're epic. This epic storytelling by Peter Jackson. Uh, Peter Jackson was just, this is his epic, and it's just great because you have all these great characters in it. You have Frodo, Sam, and Aragorn. You have Legolas, played by Orlando Bloom. Like I said, Samwise. That's what I meant when I said Sam. Samwise, by Elijah Wood, who played Frodo, and you have Sean Bean is in this. You have a lot of great actors in this. Kate Blanchett is in this. Who else is in this? I think it was the guy from Friends, which I can't remember his name. You have Ian Holm is in this. Christopher Lee. This is just epic storytelling at its finest, and I'm talking about all three movies: Lord of the Rings. I'm drawing a blank on there. The Two Towers. I'm drawing a blank on that. The Two Towers, and of course, Return of the King. These movies are epic in scope, a lot of heart, and like I said, the heart of this movie, of course, is Frodo and his friend Samwise, and everything that they have to go through to get to Mount Doom. It's just epic. And Peter Jackson, thank you for making these movies. These movies are epics and classics, and I absolutely love these movies. I went to see each one of them in the movie theater. Was never bored. They kept my attention all the way throughout. And like I said, I have an attention span of a gnat. So these movies, to keep my attention, like these movies are just epic and definitely worth seeing it. And I of course have the special extended editions that came out, and I also have the regular DVDs that came out years ago. And I think they came out with several different versions all throughout the years. But in any movie collector, you got to have Lord of the Rings movies, because the trilogy, because it's just epic storytelling, and this is why you go to the movies for. Absolutely fantastic. And I tip my hat, if I had one, to Peter Jackson for creating this. Okay, and now since I'm approaching almost the 40-minute mark, I'm going to go through the last two movies. Try to get through this real quick. First of all, and maybe I'll split this up. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll split it into two videos. That's what I think I'll do. But anyway, this next movie, number 2 on my list, would be the Dark Knight Trilogy. Okay, so of course, Batman Begins, Dark Knight, and The Dark Knight Rises. Christopher Nolan's version of the Batman. Okay, and after the disaster that was Batman and Robin, of course, Warner Brothers, I think Christopher, I don't know if he went to them or he went to them, but I assume he went to them, Christopher Nolan. He wanted to do a more realistic take on Batman, and boy did he deliver it. Absolutely love Batman Begins. Batman Begins is probably my favorite of the movies, even though I think The Dark Knight gives the greatest villain performance by, like I said, by the late Heath Ledger. And of course, what more can you say about The Dark Knight Rises? Epic. Tom Hardy was absolutely fantastic as Bane, very physical. And like I said, when you got to act with him, since he has basically a mask on his face, he has to act with his eyes and with his body. And that voice that came out of him was just epic. And Anne Hathaway, I loved her as Catwoman. She to me exceeded my expectations. So I knew she was a good actress, but she more than enough delivered. And Christian Bale, what can you say? He's always good in everything he does to me. And this whole trilogy as a whole, I love the way he tied it in from the first movie all the way to the last movie. And these three movies are just classics. Absolutely. And Christopher Nolan, thank you. Like I said tip my hat before. Well, I'm going to tip my hat again to you, Christopher Nolan, for coming up with these epic movies. What more can you say? This realistic take on Batman, or real world take on Batman, was epic. And you got one of the greatest cast of all time to be in it. Like I say, Christian Bale, Michael Caine, Morgan Freeman, Gary Oldman. What more can you say? Heath Ledger, Liam Neeson, Tom Hardy, Anne Hathaway, just epic. It's probably one of the best cast for a trilogy of all time. And plus, you had Christopher Nolan direction, just absolutely fantastic. And I love everything about the movies. Like I said, they were well written, greatly acted, and just an epic. And I love the way it concluded. Okay, from the first beginning of it, and I love the way it just concluded perfectly to me. Okay, and I can't wait to get the box set when it comes out. Okay, now the #1 movie on my list is a movie that I've talked about before, and I think I mentioned this as my #1 movie of all time. It's a movie called The Best Years of Our Lives. Okay, this movie came out, I believe, in 1946. Yep, 1946. Just double checking. And it stars, of course, Frederic March, Dana Andrews, Myrna Lloyd, Teresa Wright. I think Virginia Mayo's in it also. And anyway, it's basically the story about 3 World War II veterans coming home to small town America and how they, they readjust to their, when they reunite with their families and stuff. And like I said, Frederic March, and he's one soldier. He's like the older soldier, and he reunites with his wife, of course, played by Myrna Lloyd, and their 2 kids. I forgot who the young actor who plays his son, but Teresa Wright is his daughter, and of course the second soldier is played by Dana Andrews. He's like a married bomber. I think he's a bomber pilot. Yeah, that comes home, or he used to fly the bomber missions. Okay, and of course he's married to Virginia Mayo. And then I think the third guy is they actually got a veteran, an actual veteran from World War II to play the third character, which is, I believe, I'm trying to get his name right. Harold Russell, who lost both of his hands in the war. He played Homer, and so they actually had those 2 actors, and they had Harold Russell, an actual veteran from the war, that played the third soldier, who was coming back home to his small town sweetheart, of course, a changed man without his hands, basically. And I love the stories. I love all their interaction. And this is, to me, of course, black and white movie made in 1946, and this won 7 Academy Awards, I believe, like Best Picture, I think Best Actress or something. I don't remember all the awards. I know it won Best Picture. I know they said he won 7 Oscars. Probably best. Hold on, I just want to see if I can. Yeah, what did it win? Okay, yeah, won Best Actor, Frederic March. Okay, Best Actor in a Supporting Role, played by Harold Russell. Best Director, William Waller. Best Film Editing, Best Music, and Best Picture, of course. Best Writing Screenplay. So really, really great movie. So definitely worth getting. But anyway, my favorite part of the movie actually is the story between Dana Andrews' character and Teresa Wright's character. Dana Andrews, of course, is married to Virginia Mayo. She's, as you go along with the story, you find out, of course, that she's a very high maintenance woman, of course, and of course they're having trouble because he's trying to fit back into society. He's trying to get a regular job, but she's used to living high, of course, and of course he's not doing that anymore. And of course they have all this kind of conflict, and slowly but surely he starts to have this friendship with Teresa Wright's character, and they slowly and surely start to fall in love. And of course Frederic March's character, he's like the older veteran, and he's trying to assimilate back into his business work, because I think he was a banker. I think he works, and he goes back to the bank, and he tries to get back into that. And of course he's disillusioned by what he's seen, since he's been back, disillusioned by how cold the real world is. And of course, like I said, you have the last character played by Harold Russell, who plays Homer, who's trying to adjust to life back home, without use of his hands, and the struggle he goes with. And of course he has a fiance, and the struggles. And it's just 3 great stories, great human stories, and it's a really great movie. And like I said, the first time I saw it, I think in Turner Classic Movies, I recorded it on VHS, and I really should buy the DVD. I was kind of waiting to see if they release it on Blu-ray, because, like I said, it won 7 Academy Awards, and they're releasing all the old classics. But I think I'm going to just broke down and buy the DVD and just keep that, and hopefully they'll release a special edition on Blu-ray. I would love to see this movie on Blu-ray. And absolutely, I fell in love with Teresa Wright watching this movie. She's absolutely beautiful in this movie, and I love her performance in this movie. And I think her and Dana Andrews have great chemistry in this movie. So that's my list, okay? The Best Years of Our Lives. That's my favorite movie of all time, okay? And like I said, what I'm going to do So I'm going to say, first I want to say thank you, Robin, again for coming up with this list, with the suggestion for the list. And I don't have a lot of comedies in my list, but these are just movies I absolutely love. Okay, so I want to say thank you, Robin, for coming up with this list. And like I said, putting this into two parts because I've noticed I'm approaching 46 minutes of talking in this video. So I'm going to split this into two videos, from from 10 to, excuse me, from 20 to 11, and 1 to 10, like that. I'll split it into two videos. And like I said, what I'm going to do probably in December, I'm going to try to do my top 100 movies. And what I'll do is I'll divide it up into a couple of videos. Maybe I was trying to do maybe 4 videos, but I see doing 20 videos took me almost 46 minutes. So maybe I'll do it instead of 4 videos. Maybe I'll do it in 8 videos or something. Maybe I'll do it in 8 videos or something. But anyway, any event, and I'll follow a few twists and turns and stuff on that. So anyway, that's my list. Let me know what you think. Feel free to leave your comments down below. And this is Trey Pastor saying so long and take care.